Discourses by Osho, he's asked this question that why Krishnamurti could not get people sannyas. And he answers it like this, that Krishnamurti is on my side. He says Krishnamurti is on my side, we are both saying the same things. Krishnamurti was against dogmas, beliefs, organized religion, and all the symbolic, which is not real, which we are also indicating. But he said the egoist man will find Krishnamurti he will find him on his side, because he will say he cannot surrender to anyone. An egoist mind is not likely to be able to transcend or whatever, be spiritual man, because he would not find it easy to surrender to anything. And then he just, I don't know then what is he trying to say by that? Somewhere I see a connect with what you're trying to say, but I'm not reaching somewhere.
Let me put it little clearly. It is not true at all that the egoist mind does not surrender to anybody. It is not at all true. Where does ego come from? The ego itself comes from somewhere and somebody. The so-called surrendered man and the so-called egoist are just the same. The difference is only in the expression, and this has to be very meticulously listened to. The man who goes and surrenders to the priest is conscious that he is surrendering to the priest. He is conscious that he is allowing the priest to dominate him, to dictate his mental activity and consciousness. Then there is the egoist. The egoist says, I am resisting the priest. Now when he is saying that he is resisting the priest, is this his own statement? Where does ego come from? Ego comes from outside, right? Ego is, I am something, and this something is outside. When you are given an identity statement from somewhere, that is ego, right? Now the egoist man is saying, I will not surrender to the priest. Now is this the voice of his heart? Or is this something that he has been tutored in? Come on, please. So when he is saying that I am not surrendering to the priest, he is already surrendered to someone else he does not know. The so-called surrendered man is conscious that he is allowing himself to be dominated by the priest. The egoist man is not even conscious that somebody is dominating his mind. You see, I could be a religious fanatic, and you are coming to me and trying to drill some sense into my mind, right? And I pull out my gun and say, I will not listen to you, I will not surrender to you. Does that mean I am a free man, a free mind? No, that only means that my mind has been totally enslaved by an ideology, by a tradition, by somebody behind me. So even though I appear to be resisting you, the fact is that I am enslaved by somebody else. But if you will look only at the small picture, you will feel, oh, this is an expression of some kind of freedom. No, it is not an expression of some kind of freedom. It only means that my master is somewhere else. But it is still a worldly master. It is still a material master. A man, a thought, a belief, an ideology, a book, something. Are you getting it? So, when you really rebel, then you rebel not only against all that which controls you from the outside, but you also rebel against that which controls you from the inside. You see, there can be two ways to control you. Either through explicit fear, I may point a gun at you and say, come on, do this. Or the other, more cunning and more nefarious way of controlling you is that I condition your mind. Now, even without using a gun, even without displaying open violence, I am controlling you. This is the egoist. This is the egoist who is being controlled by others internally. And he thinks that he is free. He says, I am not surrendering to the external. And does not even know that he has already been crawling on his knees internally. So when I'm saying rebel not only against the world but also against yourself. When Krishnamurti said there is no authority, he did not say that you are the authority. He said nobody can be an authority including you. So then only truth is the authority. When the world is not an authority, when you are not an authority, then nothing is an authority, then that which is nothing and hence the truth is an authority. Total rebellion is hence total surrender. Remember, not partial rebellion. Partial rebellion would mean I am resisting the outside, but I am totally blind and oblivious to the inside. This is partial rebellion. Partial rebellion is extremely fake, convenient, and self-destructive. When you rebel, and I meet so many young people, young professionals, young students, and rebellion is often a topic that comes up. I say, you all like rebelling, but don't rebel in small ways. Strikes, protests, missing classes, general hooliganism, vandalizing property, all these are minor rebellions. If you must rebel, rebel totally. And that total rebellion is spirituality. That total rebellion is surrender.
Going by that example, supposing that the priest is there, but I am not believing in organized religion, and I see a herd lying in front of him, and this rebellion in me says that why are you going to bow in front of him because you are against organized religion? Are you saying get over that voice also?
Yes,
and
of course.
consider a God in him as well.
Yes, why not? Or a God nowhere.
Is that
No, not really. First part is all right. That you realize that the voice coming from within is also an external voice. You know, these so-called voices of the mind or voices of the conscience, we take them as our voices. The fact is, all voices coming from anywhere are all external. So the first part was all right, that even this resistance is an external resistance, and a resistance externally imposed upon me. That much is all right. But the second part that you said, that and hence I must say that there is God in the priest also, so that I may go to him without any harm. No, because this is a definite thought, and all definite thoughts will be conditioned thoughts. You have to stop at saying that while the pressure of the herd, that the herd is, indirectly imposing on me,
I can see that.
to come to the priest, is an external pressure. Even this internal voice is an external pressure. And you have to stop the moment you say this. After this, don't say anything. After this, there would be spontaneous action. So you need not say what you just said next, that hence I can bow to him thinking that he is God. No, you need not think anything. You just have to stop, and that is surrender. That having realized falseness, I stop. because now there is nothing left to do. I stop, and then the divine takes over. Once I stop, then action happens on its own. Then I may go to the priest, or I may run away, or I may sit still, or I may start jumping, or I may do nothing. Who knows? The ways of divinity are incomprehensible. Why will I try to preordain them? Now, this is challenging. If you think of it, it is challenging.
It's a huge challenge because that who do you listen to? That voice you are ignoring, and you see there's an inertia.
Yes. Nobody. In if he is
And that's a
spiritual,
vacuum which just makes you very nervous. It's
if you think about it,
yeah,
if you think about it,
mind is
yes. Faith is about acting without the support of thought. Faith uses thought just as an instrument, not as a support. That is the difference. The ordinary mind uses thought as the bulwark, as the foundation. The faithful mind may also think, but for the faithful mind, thought is just a slave, an instrument. You're getting it? So just stop.